Did you know that this little beast of a shooter down here, this is the Kamikaze, did you know this was the inspiration for the cocktail, the Cosmopolitan, that took the world by storm in the late 2000s, early 2010s? This documented history that in the late 1970s, a bartender called Neil Murray over in Minneapolis simply added a splash of cranberry juice to the Kamikaze, shook it and served it up into the martini glass. And there was born the Cosmopolitan. However, this cocktail didn't take off. It didn't become popular until Dale DeGroff, very, very legendary bartender Dale DeGroff, put his little spin on it back in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s. But the vast majority of you that drink this cocktail will know it from something else, and that was the series Sex in the City. Carrie, Samantha, Miranda, what was the other one called? Charlotte. Oh, no, I don't watch it. But though it was those four that always drank this cocktail in that series. And that's when it became really, really popular. But in recent times, this cocktail has pretty much died a death when it comes to cocktail menus here in the UK, outside of like the big cities. And I think a lot of that is purely because bartenders have got bored from it. It's a very simple cocktail. 4 ingredients, maybe a fifth one if you include the sort of flame orange peel, but it's just died off because I think really bartenders just want to make more complex, more exciting drinks. But the fact remains, if you put a Cosmopolitan and you make it really, really well, if you put that on your cocktail menu, it is still going to sell. In this day and age, it's still going to make you some really good money. Hey there, I'm Steve the Barman, and I help UK pubs and bars make more money by simply putting delicious and fun riffs on famous classic cocktails to help them stand out from their competition. Now, I think if you do put this on a cocktail menu in 2025, I think you do kind of have to put a fun riff on it, because we are in that world now where people just expect something slightly different. So to put a cocktail, the Cosmopolitan, in its original guise on a menu is not a cop-out, but you could be giving your customers a better experience. But the problem is, this is really only 4 ingredients. So how, without losing too much of what the Cosmopolitan is, how do you put your own spin on it? Well, it is actually quite easy, because you can play with 3 of those 4 ingredients and maybe even add a 5th ingredient into the mix as well. And you can also play with the presentation, which for my money is half the battle, because when you make drinks, you need to be turning heads. And when you turn heads, people get excited and then order what they've just seen. But before we get into that, let's look at the classic Cosmopolitan, how it would traditionally be served up in the vast majority of pubs and bars here in the UK. Traditionally, we would go for a citrus vodka. Pretty much Absolut is the market leader in that, or I would say the one that's most easily available. And then you go triple sec or Cointreau. Just to note, we do have 2 types of triple sec here in the UK. I don't know how this translates in the US, but I'm focusing on the UK here. You get a 40% give or take triple secs and the 25% ABV triple secs. Not many people realise that, but the 25% ones obviously are weaker, but they are a little bit sweeter. And that's kind of how, you know, when it comes to the margarita and kind of gets that little bit of sweetness from triple sec, that's the sort of triple sec that we use. The 40% one won't make it as sweet, all right? So I have got that purely because I do hen parties and I kind of need that lower ABV but sweeter version of the triple sec. So that's what we've got here. We've got cranberry juice, just plain cranberry juice. We've got lime juice that I always use in the bottle. You know, it's 100% lime juice. There's no nasties in it. It's just lime juice. And then if the bar is not super busy and it's not a theatre bar, then they would kind of use the whole flamed orange peel. But I'm actually going to go, to get that sort of orange zesty bitterness into the cocktail, I'm just going to do a couple of drops of the Stillabunt orange bitters. So 50 ml double bubble of your citrus vodka, 25 ml of the triple sec. Now some bars would actually go 15 ml, but I do think the extra sort of 10 ml, so bringing it up to 25 ml, works better in this. Just 10 ml of lime juice, which will equate to like a wedge or a couple of wedges of lime if you're going to go that way. And then 30 ml of cranberry juice. And again, to bring that back, you know, a lot of bars will actually go a lot more, 50 ml at the least, maybe even 75 ml. And it does get that real deep red in colour, but traditionally it's about 30 ml. It's just slightly less than the vodka. And then just 6 drops of the Stillabunt orange bitters. Then just double strain into your martini or coupe glass. Now, as I say, to garnish, most bars would do the flamed orange peel if they have got time. We've got orange bitters in there. And for me, the dried oranges from Frona just absolutely smash it. And you still get that sort of zestiness that comes through into the cocktail as well. Now, you know, not my favourite cocktail. I'm not a huge cranberry juice fan, but I get why that's popular. But I do think when you use that lower ABV triple sec, that sweeter triple sec, I do think it adds to the cocktail without using, you know, it's not sugar syrup sweet. It's just got that little bit of extra sweetness that a 40% or a Cointreau doesn't give you. And for me, that is actually beautifully balanced. Get that lovely orangey notes. The colour of that looks really, really good. It's not a deep red hue. It's not a huge cocktail. It doesn't fill up like a 7, 8 ounce martini glass. It should be like that. And, you know, not that we would encourage that, but if you are going to use a 7 or an 8 ounce martini glass, a larger martini glass, and use more cranberry juice, then to balance it, use a bit more vodka, you know, because it shouldn't be a weak drink. That's the whole point of it. It is a booze-forward drink. So now that we've made the original, how do we make that stand out? How do we make it completely different and tastier than the bar down the road? This video is sponsored by me, kind of, because in the description below, I have 3 fantastic offers for you guys. The first partnership I'm bringing you is my good friends at Franklin's & Sons. They are giving you UK viewers 15% off your very first order. My long-term buddies at Drinkstuff. I've been a customer of Drinkstuff for 25 years-ish, give or take, and they're also a client of mine. But Drinkstuff are giving you 5% off your very first order for you UK viewers. But I've also got something for you guys watching worldwide. I've been getting a lot of comments recently about this apron and where did I get it from? Well, I can now tell you. This is from Fancy Gents over in Greece, and they're giving you 10% off any apron on their website. Now, all 3 of those discount codes in the description of this video. So if you go down there and check the description out, you'll find the discount codes, but you'll also find the link to download my free PDF cocktail book. Now, about a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, I did a little bit of consultancy and a little bit of bar training, cocktail training with a pub in East Anglia. We put this exact recipe on the menu that I'm about to show you. And I spoke to them last week and they've now gone on to sell over 350 cocktails, which for them is actually quite a lot. They did put it on as a special, but it just proves it really does work. So what are the ingredients? What is it? Well, I'm kind of going to go for a peach riff on the Cosmopolitan. But as I always say, with the ingredients, with everything I show you, it's more about inspiration. Not necessarily saying this is how you should serve it, but this is me wanting to kind of get your little brain cells going so you can put your own riffs and twists on cocktails. Okay, this I know does work. Is really, really tasty, but I would love to hear some of your inspiration as well. So first things first, the obvious thing we could swap up is the vodka. We could go for a better vodka. Of course we could. Now, I want to aim this at sort of pubs and sort of not hotel cocktail bars, but lower end cocktail bars, if you like. And in all honesty, while I really wanted to change the vodka up and put a bit of vodka on, I think for the market, I think actually going down this route, like a citrus, maybe Absolut do a lime vodka as well. You know, I think this recipe still does work. Yes, a better vodka might come out to play a little bit better, but because we're adding a couple of other flavors into it, I'm actually going to stick with Absolut Citron. And then the same goes for the triple sec. There are loads of different ways you could go here. For example, I did this on a podcast recently, which you might see, I don't know when it's coming out, but you might see, I actually put a yuzu riff on the Cosmopolitan and that went down a storm. So you could do things like that. Also, you can do things like Apricot Brandy, peach liqueur going in here. Peach might be the obvious one. So, you know, there's plenty of inspiration there. But again, I'm actually going to keep this triple sec. Now, to sort of start to riff this up, this is where I'm going, the angle. Now, this is just that brand. You could use other peach purees if you wanted to. You could go for 100% purees. I'm just going to use those at the moment. And to kind of balance that out a little bit, because you think you might be making it a little bit sweeter, I'm just going to add a touch more lime juice. But then the other thing I'm going to do is just to give it like that extra little bit of bite. I'm going to sub in the orange bitters for these burlesque bitters, which are basically hibiscus and red fruits, and they will bring a lovely depth of flavour into this cocktail. As for the cranberry juice, I've got it here. I'm going to keep this the same, but the obvious riff, and I do use this a lot, is the cranberry and raspberry juice. It's become a little bit extinct over here at the moment. I don't know why. The two supermarkets I went to were both out of stock of the Ocean Spray cranberry and raspberry juice, but that would be my automatic riff. I would do it that way if possible. But do you know what? The classic cranberry juice, most pubs, most bars will carry it. So, you know, let's just stick with that. And then for the presentation, if you've watched any of my videos before, you will know that I'm not the hugest fan of, I call them limp and lifeless cocktails without, you know, without any kind of froth on them. I do like that white froth effect. So I'm just going to add in like 6 drops of these foamers, and that should just give us a lovely white sort of creamy head on top, which does change the perception of this drink. So let's start off with the vodka. We're going for a 50ml double bubble, same as before. We're going for a 25ml, same as before, of the triple sec. I'm just going to up the lime juice slightly to 15ml instead of 10. I'm just going to do about 10ml of peach puree, 8 drops of these burlesque bitters, 30ml of cranberry juice, same as before, and then 6 drops of these miraculous foamers. And then to serve up, just double strain into your favourite martini glass. And it's garnished, same as before, another dried orange from Frona. Now, when you look at these two cocktails side by side, I think the contrast is huge. We've now got that lovely white frothy layer, and whether it's just me, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that sort of white frothy layer on top. Do you prefer it? Do you hate it? You know, let me know. But I just think if I served either of those two cocktails up side by side, I'm pretty confident that the vast majority of people are going to pick that one, because I just think it looks better. And taste-wise, that is fantastic. That is now actually a cocktail that I would drink. It's not sweeter because, yes, you've got a little bit of puree in there, but you've balanced it out with a little bit of lime juice as well, a little bit of extra lime juice. Plus, you've got those burlesque bitters in there. And bitters juice do add, obviously, a little bit of bitterness, but really a depth of flavour. I've got big red berry notes coming off of there now. That is just delicious. That is a peach. I don't know what you want to call it, a peach and red berry cosmopolitan, maybe. But I just know if that goes on a cocktail menu, it is going to sell a lot more, hands down, a lot more than what that version is. Now, I'd love to hear from you guys. What's your experience of the Cosmopolitan? Do you absolutely love the original recipe? Would you love to try that? And you've seen what I've done with peach. What other flavours would you go in there? I'll be honest, you could even maybe go like a strawberry or a raspberry puree version in there. I think they would work a treat. So let me know in the comments below what you would do. And if you do make a different version of the Cosmopolitan, take a photo of it, upload it to Instagram, and then tag me at Steve the Barman. I'll do my best to share as many as I can on my stories. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. If you want another vodka cocktail, another kind of recipe that you can riff up and put on your menu, then check out that video right there.